How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in my journey of picking up on older devices that I have and just kind of revisiting them and see how they do today. And so this video is no different as we're taking a look at the Moto G Stylus 5G 2022, which is a mouthful today. So for the rest of this video, I'm just going to refer to it as the Stylus 22. And so this device has been a pleasure to pick back up and use again. And I've just been great with this device. And it just really makes me appreciate just how much future-proof a smartphone actually has. Most people today are hung up on getting the latest version in Android just to say they have the latest version in Android and have no clear actual reason as to why getting the latest Android drop is the most important to them. Like the pixel drops that you get quarterly, yes, some of those features are pretty cool. And I think the only real good point would be, like any security patches that need to be patched, vulnerabilities that, just need to be given to the phone. And Motorola, and its caveat of not updating devices, that's something that they should be at least more focused on, is security patches rather than software updates to like the latest version of Android. At least give us the security patches monthly, I would tell Motorola. But nonetheless, this device still runs pretty good. I'm gonna drop you guys the specs here just below. You guys can see, so mine's is the Boost Mobile model, just to be open with you guys. So mine's is the 4 gig variant of RAM, not the 6 gigabytes of RAM. And I know I really wish it had 6 gigabytes of RAM, but for the most part, 6.8-inch display, you got 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and the battery life on this is really good. So I mean, I'll get into that here in a little bit. Just for like more of the spec wise, so like for like the camera in itself, you got a 50 megapixel shooter, which is a 26 millimeter lens. You got an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and you got a 2 megapixel depth camera for like portrait and stuff like that, and then a 16 megapixel selfie cam. Now the 50 megapixel camera is not fully opened when you open the camera app, so you do actually have to initiate the 50 megapixel setting. So you do know that this actually pixel bends. If you're into smartphone photography or just in photography in general, you know what that means. But you can still get some pretty good photos and stuff like that with this phone. One of the huge things I like about it is just how it feels in hand, the build and everything like that. Like, I know some people are just like, they'll find me weird if I tell you guys that I prefer this model, this style, this feeling in my hand versus the 2024 model, which is, still a pretty good phone, but I would prefer this over the 2024 model as far as like the body build and everything like that. And some people just be like, oh, but that vegan leather, like, look, they could put vegan leather on this design. I'm talking about the shape, the ergonomic, the shape of the back of the phone, the side of the phone, and just how when you hold it, it just feels more comfortable to hold in my hand longer than I would hold, the 2024 model. So, yeah, definitely. And I don't want it to be glass because as big as this thing is, you drop it, that glass will crack. So I'm good with it being plastic built. And yes, it's got that, that fake, glass shimmer and shine to it when you reflect it through light. And it's made to emulate glass, but it's not glass. And to me, that's a good thing. If this had an in-display fingerprint sensor, this would be killer. So Motorola, come back to this design. That's what I would tell you guys. Come back to this design. This design was great. Even though I got the side fingerprint sensor on the power button, which also works out pretty great too. I am ambidextrous, but I pull more to using my right hand when holding phones and stuff like that. I can write with my left, I can write with my right hand. So yeah, it just really depends what I'm doing. But so it being on the right side, I know, could be like a little bit annoying for those who are lefties and trying, registering your index finger on your left hand as what you would use for biometrics. It could be a pain in the butt. I get that. And the 6.8-inch display is nice and vibrant. It is an LCD panel, so it's not going to have like the deepest blacks like an OLED panel, but it gets the job done when watching content, when looking at emails, when looking at social media posts and everything like that. It's 90 hertz refresh, not 120 hertz refresh. Not a very big deal because I keep things at 60 hertz. I'm not 120 hertz refresher, mark or anything like that. I don't mark out for that. So I mean, it is what it is when it comes to the display size, and the fact that it's got fast charging. When you plug this into a fast charger, turbocharge kicks on and it charges up the battery really quickly. You got that 5,000 milliamp hour battery that lasts a good length of the day. On top of that, you know, for it being as old as it is, this phone is 3.5 years old. It came out in February of 2022. So yeah, you know, it's old, but it's still got some go. It is on Android 13. That's the last software update it got. There is some third-party development out there, but it seems like that a lot of the third-party developers have, you know, they have stalled on developing for the Moto G Stylus 2022. So there's not a lot of custom ROMs, but you know what? Android 13 is still pretty good, and apps that I use are compatible on Android 13. So I'm not even stressing that at all whatsoever. And with the cameras, there's a lot of good play with the cameras here, especially if you're a content creator. You can do a lot with the cameras. So as far as the regular, you know, point and shoot, you know, camera sensor, like main camera, portrait mode, you know, macro. But if you go into more settings, you have dual capture mode, which is pretty solid. I will say this though, with dual capture video mode, I would say that comes very in handy if you have a gimbal to stabilize the shot, because with, you know, the one thing I would wish that Motorola would change in future Motorola devices is if you're using dual capture mode on a Moto device, not just the Stylus models, but you know, the Moto G series, is only one of the sensors can be stabilized if you're using it in hand. So you don't have like OIS or EIS on, you know, like say like the main camera sensor. If you have dual capture mode on, the selfie cam will be stabled, but the main sensor won't. And so it comes out for a very shaky video that just looks weird. So I would say if you're gonna, you know, utilize dual capture mode, use it with a gimbal, because then the gimbal basically, of course, will stabilize the phone and keep all your shots nice and clean for creating content. And this is a feature that Motorola has that I wish Google Pixels would bring in the future, is the dual capture mode. And, you know, since Pixels are supposed to be intelligent, have it to where stabilization from the main sensor and the selfie sensor is present. So both, you know, picture-in-picture videos are going to look very stable on both sides. But that's something I feel like Motorola can do in the future when it comes to this. And also, you know, have 50 megapixel default turned on, and then let people scale it down to like 60 megapixels if they want to. It's so weird because people will be like, the camera is crap, the camera is crap. Like I had friends that had this phone, they're like, oh yeah, the camera's not all that great. And it's like when I turn on the 50 megapixel like full capability, and then they take a photo, and they're like, oh my god, the photo is really good. And it's like, why did they put it 16 megapixels? And it's like, Motorola's weird like that. So it's Motorola, have that turned on by default and let people scale it down if they want to. But again, like I said, it's pixel bending, and if you're a photographer, you know what I'm talking about. And if you want to know what it is, just Google search it. You can get a whole, you know, explanation from Gemini on there. But ultimately, this phone, being as old as it is, and me using it, and it's just been a really, really good experience. It's like, for me, I get surprised when, you know, it goes beyond just nostalgia. It goes to like, wow, this thing is still really good, and proves my point that you don't need to upgrade every year, because what you're using is solid enough to continue to use today.